So you're telling me you're the shot caller?
Pretty much.
Okay, there's a shot caller.
I can't even not smile.
Okay, wait, again?
Yeah.
Yo, it's exact, bro. Yeah, it's exact. Okay, so we're doing the screen replacement on the Google Pixel 3a. This is a pretty simple repair. Doesn't take that long. Shouldn't take more than half an hour or so. So we're gonna just pry up the screen. I did apply heat with an air gun to loosen up the glue. Now keep in mind the connector for this is near the top of the screen. There will be a piece of black tape which you're going to have to lift off to reveal the screws that are holding the metal plate in place that holds it down. Once you have the tape removed, you can now remove the screws, which are, I believe, a T2 size. That's a hex screwdriver. As you can see here, I'm trying to put out the camera, and I failed miserably. So you unscrew the screws. You lift off the plate and then you can just disconnect the connector. Be very careful with this. You don't want to pry it with metal and accidentally hit any components around the connector. The next process is the most tedious part, and this is making sure that every little piece of glass and as much glue as possible comes off the frame. You have a very narrow bezel, so you don't have a lot of frame to work with on the sides, especially. Most of the glue is going to go on the top and bottom. As you can see, it's going to take me some time. This is the longest part of the install of the screen, is making sure there's no glue and no glass, especially. Even a minute piece of glass can crack your new screen when you go to clamp it down after you put the glue. So be very, very careful and thorough about this part. So here we have the new screen. Remove all the protective stickers it comes with. And before you glue it down, of course, you want to test it, make sure that everything's good. You don't want to glue down a faulty screen. Now, after it booted up, I went ahead and did a thorough digitizer test to make sure there's no touch issues. I didn't show it on camera just because it's a customer's phone, and obviously I didn't want anybody to see their information or anything on the phone. I'm using a very special glue. If I can find a link to it, I'll put it in the description below. It is one of the best glues I've ever found for this kind of thing. I'm not using two-way tape. I'm just using this glue, going very carefully around the edge, putting a thin layer to make sure it covers as much surface as I possibly can. This glue is kind of rubbery. When it dries up, it's very clean. It doesn't penetrate the LCD. It's not too runny. So after screwing back the plate that holds the connector, you line it up properly. This glue, like I said, is very forgiving, so if it smudges a little bit, it's not a big problem. So you squeeze it down. Now the only thing about the glue that I'm going to say keep in mind is do not let it get into the front camera. If it does, your front camera is not going to focus, it's not going to work very well. So just be very careful around the front camera and proximity sensor. Once it's glued down, take some clamps. You can take regular plastic clamps from any surplus store or Canadian Tire or Walmart. But I do have these special clamps which allow me to screw down just the right amount of pressure, because it gives me more control and more even pressure throughout the screen. If I can find a link to these, I'll link them as well. They're one of the most useful things I've encountered with doing screen repair. And I just go around the phone evenly, clamping down where I feel it should be clamped. Usually it's 3 on each side, 1 on top, 1 on the bottom, or 2 on each side. It just depends on the application. Now I let this dry for about half an hour. This glue only really requires about 5 minutes, and we're done. Very simple to do. Good luck.